Hey guys, Scott here, and we have the March 2023 developer update coming out for Dead by Daylight, and this is an absolute doozy. This is, a very, very large patch, which is what I like to see. This is going to be very controversial for a lot of people, which I also like to see. I think that breeds discussion, excitement, some rage, some joy. I think anything that they do to make this many changes, even if some of them are bad, is still a welcome thing to do in this game because a lot of the time when they do a patch, it's like, change this to 2% or something like that instead of 1%. They just do very, very safe, uninteresting changes. So whenever I see changes like this where they're really just like going out there and just doing crazy stuff, I like it. I don't know if any of these things will actually come to live because it's going to be on the PTB first and we'll see exactly how it works. But I respect the fact that they're doing this many different things. Even if not all of them are good, I think that's better than just, not doing anything. So because there's so many patch notes, I'm actually just going to go over them point by point. I usually just read first, I read it first, and then I just summarize it for you guys. But I actually want to go through it point by point because there's so much stuff on here, and to me that's exciting. So first off are the Bloodweb improvements. People have been asking for increased speed for spending blood points because honestly, we're at a point now where it's sometimes a scenario where you have a surplus of blood points. I've been sitting on like 4 million for a long time. I'm just too lazy to spend them now. It just takes too long. I don't want to sit there for an hour and just fill out my blood web. So they're addressing that with a number of couple of different things. First, they're adding a Bloodweb chain. Basically, this is a simple feature. Say I wanted to purchase this node right here. It's now going to automatically purchase these two. So going to save you a couple seconds. Just I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, and it's going to autofill to get to that point. Nice, simple change. Next is going to be the automatic Bloodweb purchase. They showed this on Twitter before. Basically, you press a button, just autofill stuff out. It's going to prioritize things like getting perks first. But for the most part, it's just going to find like the cheapest option to just go and fill out your Bloodweb, which is, who's going to complain about that? And then finally, we have press to buy, which I figured they were going to do, but they didn't say. They just made it so you don't have to hold down the button anymore. So that took an additional second, just having to hold down that button. Just tap, 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 tap. So that's going to be a lot faster. Again, no one's going to complain about this. This is just all objectively great stuff. Good stuff. Next is the visual radius. They've been hinting at this on Twitter as well. This is basically just a quality of life for people that are hard of hearing. So again, no real complaints. It's sort of the similar system they have on DBD Mobile, where you have a radius visible on your character now, where it's a heart that gets like, faster and faster when they're closer and closer. You could make the argument this will buff survivors by like 0.5% because maybe it is a loud generator or something, and then you run away 1/10 of a second later because your brain couldn't hear it before. People are going to make this argument, just ignore them. This is not going to really buff Survivor at all. It's just going to make it so people that are hard of hearing are going to be able to actually react to a terrorities now, which is great. Again, no real downsides to this as well. They also added some colorblind options for that as well, which is, again, more accessibility. Who's going to complain about that? Some people, but again, ignore them. Next huge change, Autohaven Wreckers, 2 maps are getting updated. First is Blood Lodge. I'm going to read their exact wording here so we can get into their mindset. Blood Lodge can be a bit of a mixed bag. Depending on how the map generates, there can be plenty of safe pallets near the center or very few, creating a very safe area or a dead zone. This is very, very true. This area also has very few line of sight blockers, which make it difficult for stealth killers to sneak up on survivors. Also very true. Blood Lodge and Borgo are the 2 worst stealth maps in the game. If you get them as Wraith or Ghostface or Myers or Pig, it sucks. People can just see you coming from everywhere on the entire map. Around the edge of the map, on the other hand, features like several maze tiles. Around the edge of the map, on the other hand, features several maze tiles. So they're saying the insides are very RNG, and like there could be dead zone, there can be a lot. And clever survivors can combine these tiles to create stronger loops, making them very difficult to catch. Very true. To remedy this, we're making a significant layout changes to the map. The Blood Lodge itself will now appear closer to the center of the map, breaking up line of sight and separating these safer loops. I think it's a good idea. I would still prefer a couple of more things in the way for stealth killers because it is really annoying playing a stealth killer on that map. You basically have no power, and that's just really rough. So this is the kind of thing we're going to have to see the map on the PTB, but I like that they're aware of the problem with the map, that it neuters stealth killers pretty bad. For Gas Heaven, they are they're cutting that giant car wall, I would assume, in half or something like that. So they are addressing the issue where if the survivor is waiting on one end of the car wall and the killer's on the other, and the survivor starts running early, it takes so long to get around that wall. It's like 40 seconds of just running in a straight line. So they're breaking it into smaller single tile chunks, which I think, again, great idea. Gas Heaven is probably the worst Autohaven map for killer because of that car wall. So if they're changing it, I think that's going to make it easier for killer. We'll see what other changes they make. They're also changing the position of the gas station itself more toward the center of the map. So that's sort of a mixed bag because the building is pretty strong. And if it's more accessible from anywhere, that might be more rough for killers, but then removing the car walls will make it easier. So again, these are the sort of changes we can't just read and know. We have to see it and play. But for the most part, that should be okay. Throughout the realm, some of these changes will spill over to the remaining Autohaven Wreckers maps, including new edge tiles, some of which include new gameplay as possible held spawn. So basically, like, the copious amounts of Z walls and just random walls, like on the outside, they might throw like a shitty pallet there or something. Eerie of Crows has this now where there's like one little bad pallet on the outskirts. It's better than having absolutely nothing. But I'm sure it's not going to be that strong either based on their previous changes. Next is the healing changes, and these are absolutely massive. I'm going to read again word for word their wording so I can't miss anything here. There's no better way to avoid being put on a hook than healing your injuries. Even if the killer is relentless, an extra health state can buy your team more time to work on generators. Having easy access to quick and plentiful heals can cause problems, particularly for highly skilled survivors who can evade the killer for quite some time. An emergency medkit alone can heal the damage done after a long chase in roughly 10 seconds. That's with, like, nothing. You have botany knowledge, you have the sutures, not gel dressings, the other one. No, it is gel dressings, I think. I forget. Basically, you can heal yourself in 6 seconds with a green medkit. It's ridiculous how fast you can heal yourself with a green medkit. I've been asking for them to nerf green medkits for basically 6 years straight, and I'm very happy that they're finally addressing it because the amount of pressure gained from healing yourself that fast is absurd. There's no defending how stupid self-care speed could be. It was way too fast with the proper setups. And then you could say, well, what if I didn't use the proper setup? You can't balance the game like that. You always have to assume people are going to use the most broken shit because that's what people do. They suck the fun out of the game. They use the most broken shit they can. And so for the past weeks, I was thinking about becoming a Plague main because there were so many medkits with extremely strong add-ons that were just so frustrating to go against. So it seems like they're finally addressing that. But I think they might have taken it too far. So let's keep reading there. This doesn't even begin to factor in all sorts of perks and add-ons that can speed up the healing even further, grant more heals before your med gets depleted. So exactly what I just said there. For killers, this means that any chase that doesn't end with a hook, even if they manage to damage a survivor, can be completely undone in a matter of seconds. Yes. Keeping survivors injured and switching targets are often wise decisions. With this in mind, we have a few changes in store for healing to make this more practical. So they are very much aware that you can't commit to every chase that you go in because that's how you lose the game. You have to hit and run sometimes. Not saying that's all you do, but there are some chases where people are at setups and cowshed that has 17 connected tiles. So you just simply can't afford to waste time chasing there. And if you do and you hit them once, now you have to do the whole thing again, or it's a giant waste of time. So now healing will take 24 seconds by default. That is absolutely massive. That is a huge, huge change. This will make each hit more impactful, ensuring that survivors need to spend longer to heal their wounds. That is really, really heavy. So there are two ways to look at this. I'm going to read the rest of this first, but then we're going to go over that. Second, we've rebalanced medkits across the board. All medkits will have 24 charges by default, allowing 1 heal before they depleted. Again, pretty massive nerf to like Ranger medkit. Yellow gets 1.5 heals. Brown was always 1 heal. Green was always 1 heal. So it's not that big of a deal, but camping medkit increases altruistic healing speed by 20%. First aid kit, uncommon, this is the yellow, 25%. Green medkit no longer increases the speed at which you heal yourself. Hallelujah. I have been waiting for that single line of text for 6 years. Green medkits, I think, were an absolute abomination for how absurdly strong they were. I'm very happy to see them nerfed. I don't care how mad survivors are about that. That shit was stupid. You should not be able to heal yourself in 6 seconds after the killer took 40 seconds to hit you once. It's just stupid. Ranger medkit, which is the purple, increases altruistic healing speed by 35%. And they nerfed the skill check success zones, which, whatever, doesn't matter. Last, we've done a pass to medkit add-ons, in which those were overperforming in line with the rest. Add-ons which add more charges to your medkit have also been reviewed with the new healing time in mind. Now, it's impossible for a medkit to fully heal a survivor more than twice in a match. So that means with max charge add-ons, you're going to get 2 heals. I'm not sure if this is accepting things like Built to Last or Streetwise. Probably not. I would imagine you can use those and still get more than that if you really want to. But yeah, all right, let's talk about this whole change. So the most problematic part about healing was the self-healing aspect. The altruistic healing speed didn't matter, and here's the reason for that. If you altruistically heal somebody, it means 2 people are not doing generators, so the time efficiency is not that big of a deal for the killer. If you have one person that can heal themselves faster than another person can heal them, that is so ass backwards in how it's supposed to work. You should get a speed boost for healing somebody else, not be able to heal yourself faster with a green med kit than others can heal you. That makes no sense. And that made it so it was impossible to spread pressure. And that needed to be changed. That absolutely needed to be changed. However, I think they took it a little too far here because this affects all healing. This is now 24 seconds for everybody. What I think this should actually do is altruistic healing should still be 16 seconds based. I don't think that should change at all. What should change is healing yourself is now 24 seconds based. I think that's really all they have to do. I think this will quell a lot of the outrage about this because I know this is a very controversial change. If they just make self-healing take 24 seconds, but altruistic healing is still the base value of 24 seconds, I think this would be completely fine, and that's the direction we need to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually where we go after the patch notes, because you don't want to punish altruistic healing. You want altruistic healing to be encouraged. That way people group up. Now they can heal faster, but it's also a better chance for the killer to find 2 people instead of 1. And there's also less people on generators. So you need to have the incentive to heal other people at a faster speed. Otherwise, people are just simply not going to do it. They're going to switch to things like resilience and just no mither and just not even worry about healing at all, which might make gens go even faster. So you don't want this to have the reverse effect. You want people to be incentivized to heal each other, and nerfing that aspect of it is not a good idea in my opinion. So bottom line, what I think of this, self-care speed should be 24 seconds base, and we accept that nerf because self-healing is way more efficient than finding a teammate. And then healing other people should not be nerfed at all. That should just stay the same base 16 seconds, and we go from there. So very simple tweak. I think if they do that, people will be much happier with the changes on both sides. But overall, I gotta say, I'm happy that they're trying some crazy shit, because this is some crazy shit. That is not a little tiny behavior nerf. That is a massive change. So we'll see how that goes. I do hope they do address the disparity between self-care and healing speeds, though. Altruistic healing speeds. Next, moving on to perk updates. We have Gearhead, a perk I don't even know what it does. That's how bad it is. Currently reveals the aura of the next survivor to hit a great skill check after a survivor loses a health state. Oh yeah, that's right. These conditions require quite a bit of work and luck on the killer's part to get value out of it. Gearhead will receive a slight rework. When a survivor loses a health state, Gearhead activates for 30 seconds. While active, any survivor who hits a good skill check will have the aura automatically revealed to the killer for 6, 7, 8 seconds. Okay, so that means like you don't have to, it's not just like one hook. You can have the value multiple times. I feel like, I don't know, I'm still like probably gonna run it, but maybe you combine that with Lethal Pursuer. You could have some better consistent aura reading. Especially if people are running things like Hyper Focus, it'll reveal them much faster. Things like Stakeout, it'll work with that too. So I'm glad that they touched the perk, but I probably still won't run it. Overzealous grants a reparative speed bonus when cleansing a totem and a larger bonus when cleansing a hex totem. Little we know, this will cause the difference between... Oh, because when you boon it, you don't gain the benefit of cleansing the totem. So now it'll work when you boon a totem. That actually has some pretty decent synergy with like Circle of Healing. So now you set up a Circle of Healing, and now you also start repairing at 10% until you get hit, which is pretty significant. That also means if you cleanse a hex totem, for example, you'll now do gens 20% faster until you're hit. I always thought Overzealous was mildly slept on, but the fact that they're making it worth with boons now, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of this now. I think that might creep its way into the meta, because if there's hexes are pretty rare now, but even a 10% bonus just for breaking or even just setting up a totem is pretty good. That synergy is going to make it worthwhile to use, I think. So I think we're going to see more Overzealous, which will save people, roughly 8 seconds on a gen, which is not insignificant. That's pretty good. Yeah, we'll see. That could be something to worry about. Pain Resonance has been pretty much destroyed. Basically, you get 4 uses of Pain Resonance now for the entire match, and it's whenever you hook a survivor for the first time, sort of the barbecue and chili aspect of it, then Pain Resonance happens. So what I would do here is, I'm actually kind of okay with this change, because here's the logic behind their change. They don't want it to be a scenario where you're holding a 3-gen and you're just camping a hook, basically, that's in the 3-gen, and you just cycle out hooks on that same, you keep regressing, and you just down the unhooker, throw them on there, down the unhooker, throw them on. There's not much gameplay there, and that's what they're trying to address here. However, if you do that, I think you need to buff the regression, maybe make it go to 20%. Since you only get 4 uses an entire match, you need to make each impact of Pain Resonance feel more weighty, and I think that would be totally fair if they buffed it to 20, maybe even 25%. So it's like, Pop Goes the Weasel, you can use as many times as you get hooks, which means you can technically use it 11 times. This you're going to get to use 4 times, so it needs to be of similar strength to Pop, or maybe even a little bit more. So I think that would be fine, because right now I don't think it's worth using anymore if you only get 4 uses out of it. But if they made the impact higher, I could see this being a pretty good change that addresses, free genning with it, but also retains a lot of its strength. So kind of a mixed bag on that one. Dead Hard. My God, here we go. Though Dead Hard initially fell from grace after the 6.1 update, it essentially climbed back to being one of the most prominent survivor perks. Dead Hard really requires some precision to use, and further reducing the vulnerability window would make it far too unliable and frustrating. Therefore, Dead Hard has received a slight rework. Basically, what they're doing now, you need to get the requirements for deliverance, for example. You need to get a safe unhook, then you can use Dead Hard. So this means you can only use Dead Hard once per successful safe unhook. Dead Hard will deactivate when it successfully protects the user from damage, which means if you fail a Dead Hard, it will still be up. So technically, this will guarantee you a successful Dead Hard once per unhook, which means now there's some requirement to use it. What do I think about this? I feel like I'm mostly okay with that, because once you get the unhook, it's the exact same perk that you already had. But that requirement is somewhat heavy, and it allows the killer to now know roughly who actually has an active Dead Hard based on who is doing the unhooking, if they're able to visibly see that. That's a controversial change, man. Again, I like to see these things because it's interesting. This will reduce the amount of Dead Hards we see, and this will make the amount of Sprint Bursts go up, which I've talked about before. I don't want to see that. I'd rather see Dead Hard than Sprint Burst. However, I don't think this is like unusably bad or anything like that. There are people freaking out on Twitter as if the perk is now, it's dead. There's no, blah, blah. I think it's an overreaction. Having a minor requirement for it is probably not the way I would have addressed the perk. However, I would make it so you can't drop a pallet for a second after Dead Harding, or it doesn't work on killer powers or something like that. There's a lot of other things you can do to make it usable whenever you want, but not quite as strong. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. I actually don't know. We're going to have to let this one simmer for a bit. I'm glad that they're doing something to it, though, but I don't know. I don't want to see more Sprint Burst, so we will see. That is interesting. Call of Brine. Call of Brine got neutered pretty bad to the point where I don't think I would really do anything about it. So at base level, it's 15% more instead of, 150% more. And at max level, it's 75% less. It still retains the information. What I would have done for Call of Brine is remove the information aspect of it. There's no reason it should do like what, Gearhead does, but better and with no requirements. But it seems like they really want to address the 3-genning aspect of it. So they nerfed that quite a bit to the point where I don't think that's worth running anymore. That is a 75% nerf. That is absolutely massive. So a lot of things on Survivor side are getting nerfed, like healing and Dead Hard. But also a lot of things on killer side are getting nerfed too, at Call of Brine, and also Overcharge. The max regression has been slowed down to 130 instead of 200. That's a lot. So the penalty for missing skill checks has been reduced to 4% from 5%, and that's not that big of a deal. Overcharge is still probably okay for the most part, but yeah, that is... those are two extremely prominent 3-gen perks, and that is going to make 3-genning a lot harder. On the same token, Circle of Healing gets the nerf now. This has become the jack of all trades of healing perks. Not only does it allow you and your fellow survivors to heal without a medkit, it increases the speed of healing across the board. Going forward, Boone's Circle of Healing will now no longer allow survivors to heal without a medkit. Instead, it will provide a healing bonus to others. This bonus will not apply to healing done with a medkit. Additionally, the auras of injured survivors within the Boone's range will be revealed to all their survivors. So that's interesting. It got a buff in the aura reading aspect. You get like a mini bond now, or actually more of an empathy, where you can see injured survivors in the radius. But they did basically nerf the main issue with that perk that killers hated, which is the infinite free self-care that it gives your team. So now you cannot heal. Will no longer allow survivors to heal without a medkit. Instead, it will provide a 40% healing speed bonus to healing others. This bonus will not apply to healing done with a medkit. Okay. Comments will have to make me understand this, because it says Circle of Healing will no longer allow survivors to heal without a medkit. This bonus will not apply to healing done with a medkit. I think my brain is overloaded. I think what they're saying is you cannot self-care with this anymore. It's only altruistic. If that's the case, that's a huge change. I think I'm too stupid to understand exactly what this means. I'm pretty sure that's what that means, but if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But if that is what it is, then that would be massive, because the whole benefit of the Circle of Healing was the self-care aspect of it, which allowed basically a stalemate of 3-genning and self-caring to go back and forth. So it seems like they're nerfing both of those aspects across the board, which is huge. If that's what they're doing. Again, please correct me. Killer updates. Starting with this mid-chapter, we'd like to include a bunch of small tweaks to various killers in each update. First off, the Hillbilly. So this one was kind of mixed. Basically what they're doing is they're making overheating basically a non-factor. The amount of heat generated from both starting to rev and continuing to rev your chainsaw has been dramatically reduced, making the overheat mechanic almost a non-factor. Then why is it still in the game? We've been saying this whole line for so many years now. If it's a non-factor, why do you have it? Just stop it. Just remove it. So that's good. They're making that part a non-factor. When you're holding the chainsaw, it goes up, I believe, at the same rate now. But for some reason, they nerfed Speed Billy add-ons. Hillbilly did not need a nerf in any regard whatsoever. He just needed a buff. That's it. So I don't know why they would tone this down. We'll see exactly what the values are. If it's by like 2% or something, then whatever. It's not a big deal. But Hillbilly only needed overheat removed. He didn't need a compensation nerf with that too. It doesn't make any sense. He wasn't particularly strong or anything like that. And the amount of good Hillbillies in the world I can count on one hand. So, yeah, I don't think it needed the nerf to Speed Billy add-ons. But removing the whole overheat mechanic or making it basically irrelevant, I think is a good start. But let's not forget him for too long. Pig, the crouch movement speed from the medical file add-on, buffed by 4%. That's nice. That's the end of that line. Blackened Toenail and Bloody Sash. These are the ones that make you move faster while you're absorbing blood orbs. They now increase movement speed by not much more, by 0.1. Okay. The Nightmare Sheep Block and Unicorn Block add-ons inflict blindness on survivors to trigger a dream snare or dream pallet. Doesn't really do anything. Increase the duration of blindness by 30 seconds. Okay, whatever. That's Freddy still sucks. Pyramid Head. Scarlet Egg increases the duration of Killer Instinct by Rights or Judgment by 1.5 seconds. Doesn't provide much value, since it only updates its position periodically to make it more meaningful, or increasing this to bonus to 3 seconds. Whatever. People are still going to use just range on Pyramid Head. His add-ons are not very good. Pinky Finger has an additional bottle remove now. So if this reduces your bottles by 3, that means you're only going to have 1 bottle, which means you're basically forced to run this with the additional bottle add-on now. And they basically made it worse Iridescent Head. I think its current value of 2 was fine. Because you basically just made it Iridescent Head, but Iridescent Head has much better range, trajectory, speed, and all that stuff, so it's kind of strange. However, Iridescent Head is limited in the sense you cannot have multiple hatchets. With this, you can just put it with the additional bottle, so it'll still be pretty good. Bright Light Interactions removal. So they're actually changing a lot of things where you can light burn. Light burn is a mechanic only for a few killers that interacts uniquely with their power. Typically, it's found on the Wraith, Nurse, Artist, and Hag. I'm trying to think. It doesn't work with Spirit, right? No, you can blind her while she's facing, but that's not a light burn. Okay, so they were just sort of outdated mechanics that, like, for example, you could shine a flashlight on a Wraith and stun him out of invisibility. Wraith is not strong enough nowadays to justify that. Maybe when he was one of 3 killers, that would be necessary, but the game is completely different now, so that's just an antiquated feature. Interestingly, though, they did remove it from Nurse, who I don't care that they have this feature too, because light burning a Nurse is extremely risky. If you're the person being chased by the Nurse, light burning a Nurse is almost impossible because she'll probably be able to just hit you as you're backing up slowly. However, having another teammate blind or burn the Nurse as she's trying to down them was something that was nice, and so that does sort of indirectly buff Nurse. Again, a very minor thing, but I feel like anytime we have Nurse, you just need to remove her from conversations of balance because she's just so out there in stupid land that she's just like a jester. Just ignore her. I don't even know why she's in the conversation. Let's pretend she doesn't exist. But removing a light burn from Wraith is excellent. Shining a flashlight on crows, I think that should have stayed in the game, honestly. Artist is very strong, and sometimes there's nothing you can do when she has a certain loop setup. So I actually wouldn't mind keeping that. Really, all I would have done is remove the ability to light burn a Wraith, because that was totally unnecessary. They made it so you also can't flashlight burn Hag's traps away anymore, but they made a new mechanic for Hag now where if you crouch over her trap, every survivor can just remove the trap. So that's kind of interesting. I actually kind of like that idea, making it more accessible to everybody rather than requiring a flashlight. So that's kind of cool. I think that's fine, and it'll maybe help the whole camping scenario if someone's got 14 traps around them on a hook. Now you can walk up to it before you unhook. You dismantle the trap, then you unhook, so you can both run away. I think that's good. The Deep Rift and Beyond. I don't care. I don't do the Rift. I've never done the Rift a single time since I got the glitched 100,000 Auric cells. I guess that's not very good patch summarization for me. I guess we'll read it. Starting with the Tools Tournament mid-chapter, the Deep Rift will feature unique visuals to better differentiate the bonus to Deep Rift tiers. As for tomes, you may notice a new trend emerging with the most recent chapter's lore is expanded in the following tome. It's no coincidence. It's something we've been doing for all new original chapters moving forward. This will allow us to expand further on the most recently introduced character's lore. Yeah, no, I don't care. I recommend Pixel Bush if you are interested in the lore of the game. I am not the YouTuber for that. Overall, that is going to be it for this patch notes. This is, again, a lot of changes, a lot of controversial changes. So in summary, they are hitting some very strong killer stuff and some very strong survivor stuff. They are hitting Call of Brine and Overcharge and Pain Resonance, the three most significant slowdown perks that killers have. So they are nerfing the hell out of the potential for 3 gens by a very significant amount. At the same time, they're nerfing the hell out of healing. They're nerfing Circle of Healing. They're nerfing Dead Hard. So they're pretty much attacking an equal amount of killer and survivor problematic things, which is why I think this patch is better than people are giving credit for. The fact that everyone is outraged, I think, might be a good thing because it means there are exciting, drastic changes happening on both sides, but it does feel relatively balanced in the things that they attacked. So it's going to come down to having to actually experience it myself. But overall, I am more positive about this patch than a lot of people are because I see that they have been pretty balanced, in my opinion. I think they need to make the self-healing stay 24 and make altruistic healing stay 16. Maybe make Pain Resonance more impactful from the giant nerfs. I'm not sure about Call of Brine or Overcharge. Those are pretty dead, but we'll have to see. Overall, I think it's a pretty good patch. I'm actually excited for it because there's a lot of different stuff to test, and that's what I'm into. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.